Hello and welcome to the 21st episode of the Powerless Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Krantz, or as some people on the internet know me, Brandon Durden. In this episode, talked to somebody that super fantastic to talk to because I kind of found this band by happy coincidence just through social media, which isn't something that I typically do. I'm not really that engaged through finding bands through Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or whatever. But this one I found through a random reel on Instagram. Band is the Narrator from Germany. It's a metalcore, hardcore band from Germany. I get to talk to Rob Hoppe, who is the bass player and singer, clean vocalist of the band. It was super great to talk to him. We talked to everything from the origins of the band to his own origins in music, to the trajectory of the band since the Narrator got together, a little bit of their songwriting process, where their lyrical content can come from, as well as something really cool that the band does involving the not-for-profit organization Sea-Watch that does some great work helping out migrants that are stranded at sea, and kind of filling in the gaps where the government has failed a lot of people in desperate need. So we get into a whole slew of things involving those things, both on music and then towards the end on the kind of social things, that social issues or really just humanitarian crises that the band feels strongly about, and really their connection with the organization Sea-Watch. So Sea-Watch will be linked to in the notes of this and of this recording, whether it's on your podcast platform you listen to, or the few of you that listen on YouTube and watch there. Again, really great talking to Rob. This band is super fantastic. Anyone that knows me knows I'm really into the kind of modern metal, metalcore, progressive metal, whatever subgenre you want to throw out there, or just kind of heavy with a lot of catchiness to it in a chorus or in the melodies of the leads and things of that nature. This band knocks it out of the park. So make sure, even if you don't listen to the whole thing, you don't like me rambling, whatever else, that you at least check out the band, check out their last couple of singles, because they blew me out of the water when I first heard them, and I can't wait to see where this band goes next. Before we get into the episode, just remember you can always find me on socials, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, although I don't really use Facebook much, and TikTok. I'm going to try to remember to post some of the videos and clips on there more often. I never use the app because I feel like a boomer with it, but you can find me on all those socials. You can also reach me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com if you have any questions, if you have criticisms, you think I suck on some of these episodes, you want to be on the show, whether you're a producer or musician. We've had people like Garrett Russell from Silent Planet. We've had Joey Sturgis, who, as a lot of people know that listen to music in this vein, is a pretty acclaimed producer. Talk to people on the social political spectrum when it comes to political commentary or activism, whether that was a political commentator like Matt Good Politic Guy or Shavir Rizvi, who's an activist. There's something here for you, whether you're into music or politics or both, kind of in this situation where we talk a little bit about both towards the end. But again, just make sure to reach out to me at all those handles. And if you've listened to the last couple episodes, you know where I'm going to end this off before we get into the episode with Rob. I'm going to plug the band Whole Heart, which is a metal band out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Makes a lot of sense to plug for this episode because I think if you like the Narrator, you will definitely like Whole Heart. Good mix of heavy, kind of modern metal, metalcore influences like Counterparts, or I think of bands a little bit like Old Texas and not old, the latest Texas in July album a couple of years back, Bloodwork, a host of other metal bands. I mean, I even hear a little bit of influence from more progressive metal in their music with some of the sounds and some of the breakdowns and change-ups they do and the dynamics of the music. But just make sure to check out Whole Heart, check out their last EP, Dreams That Die With You, that came out in 2022. My number one EP from last year. I just continue to plug this band because I think we can get a few more eyes on them. It's definitely worth it to do because they're absolutely fantastic and absolutely underrated. So make sure to listen to Whole Heart, again, metal band out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I will play a clip of a song from Dreams That Die With You right after this before we get into the episode with Rob. So check it out here. Thanks. Hello, so I'm here today talking with Rob. Is your last name Hope? Is that just, or how do you pronounce your last name? I forgot to ask you that.
Yeah, it's in German it's Hoppe.
Oh, okay. So that's why I ask. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but
thanks.
but hope is absolutely fine. Yeah, it's quite the Dutch the Dutch term for hop for the beer ingredients. So
Right. Well, I appreciate the clarification. I'm here with Rob from the band the Narrator out of Germany. Hardcore, metalcore, whatever kind of heavy genre you want to throw out there. I found out about you guys. I don't usually find out about bands through social media, honestly, that much. I don't look at it probably as much as a lot of people do when it comes to reels or TikTok videos or whatever. But I randomly saw some reaction video of the newest song, Frontier, that you guys put out, of this guy just like showing the end breakdown of the song, and I was like, holy shit, this is so heavy, I gotta check this out. And I was blown away because I've seen this online. I was actually just reading some of the comments and stuff on some of your videos and things like that, that literally everybody that watches your videos or hears about your music had a similar thought that I did, that I was like, how the hell is this band not one of the biggest, like, heavier bands right now? Just because, like, the breakdowns are ridiculously good. You know, you're the bassist and singer. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. The choruses and everything else are great. Gets heavy, gets very melodic. There's a whole spectrum of sounds. Very eclectic in the releases. But I was just so surprised that I had not heard of you guys before, just because it was such high quality of material, I guess. So I guess to start off with the newest song, Frontier, what's the kind of reception been like for that? And is that where you guys have kind of seen the growth for your kind of reach the most recently?
yeah, it's Lucid, the song we released before Frontier, and Frontier. These are the songs that are just going up and up. It's the rising numbers. We have on both songs more than 200,000 streams on Spotify, and it's the first two songs that are going up like that. It's pretty amazing. We never expected that, but it's happening, and we're very glad that it happened. So
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, the difference between those two songs and the other releases. I mean, the other releases still have a decent amount of listens on them, but those are far and away just going up and up and up. So yeah, that's got to be a cool thing to see, because I know you guys have been a band since 2017. Put out a couple of EPs, put out pretty consistent, singles and materials. It's got to be nice to kind of finally feel a little bit of a little growth in that department, right?
absolutely, yeah. The acknowledgement is nice to have, and yeah, we've been set back a little through all that pandemic situations. We had our first tour starting in early 2020, and we played 2 shows, and then everything got canceled here in Germany. And
Yeah.
there was a moment we had to wait 1.5 years to go back on stage and to put out some music again, and that was a tough time for us. But now we're happy. We have 2 tours in the last 1.5 years through Germany, and yeah, that was the point where it all started again, and that was just
Yeah.
absolutely
I
stunning.
I saw recently, I don't know if this was, it looked like maybe it was just maybe a one-off show, or maybe it was a tour. I saw that you opened and supported for Holding Absence recently. That's awesome. That's such a cool opportunity. Was that just kind of a one-off show you did, or was that a tour that you did with them?
That was just a single show we had with them. We've come back from the tour with Half Me, I think a week before that show, and that was just perfect match. So we had another great show to sum it all up and to have a nice one in the back of the whole tour. So
Yeah,
very happy
absolutely.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. It's great to see that you're not just doing well, so to speak, with streaming numbers, that it seems like it's really going well for you guys for the live show front too. That's awesome. Have you or are you planning on doing any tours this year or next year, if the cards, you get the right cards on the table, to do tours outside of Germany? Have you done any shows outside of your country yet? And is there any kind of plans or goals for that in the near future?
Yeah, we've been in Belgium for the Half Me support tour, We've been in Belgium. That was our first show abroad. We've been to Germany, I think, all over the country, and it's not that big. It's not as big as the US, but
Right.
that was the first tour we've played in another country, and with Moments, they're from Belgium, and we were supporting them in, it's like almost their hometown, I guess, and that was pretty cool. And it's not that we have something planned already with the touring, but there might be coming something. We've have our eyes out for everything that maybe come to us to play another tour or another shows. But it's every festival and every tour has to get back to where they've been before the pandemic. So almost
Right.
everything is fully booked. So it's kind of hard to get any slots this year. But you never know. Fall is coming.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I guess I think about that sometimes too. It's great to see a band like yours kind of getting some steam building with the most recent releases and shows and things. But it's also got to be just so tough kind of being on that cusp of really trying to get yourself out there with this kind of broadening of a base or a fan base or anything, when every other band that's probably been a little more established or was doing more shows before you guys were with that tour you were doing right before lockdowns and things like that, to try to get anything that maybe you could have beforehand. Just because I know like every band, it's still kind of backlogged, right, from what a lot of bands are trying to do tour wise. So hopefully that opens up for you guys. I think a lot of people would love to see your band throughout Europe at the very least, and I really hope we can get you to the States at some point here. But to go back a little bit for you guys, or even for yourself, because I know you're one of the vocalists in the band, you play bass in the band, and it looks like you've been in the band since the very start. So when did, going as far back as we can with you, when did you first start getting into heavy music as a kid? What bands, what kind of got you started and getting into this kind of music? And then we'll kind of get to where it got to you playing music and being in a band. But to start off, what bands got you into heavy music? When did you get into it? And just kind of speak to that.
Well, the first heavy band I ever listened to was As I Lay Dying. That was just the kickstart for me. They were so, I've never heard something like that before. I mean, I've heard some punk music, some emo or whatever you call it. And As I Lay Dying was the first band that just blew me away. I mean, I was like, how old was I? 13, 12 or something like that. I was in school, and a friend of mine showed me their songs, and it was just amazing. They were on repeat.
Do you remember which record you first heard from them?
I'm so bad with names. It's the one, the record before the one where The Darkest Nights was on.
Let me think here. Was that Shadows Are Security? Is that the one? I don't have the tracks pulled up.
No,
but,
I think it.
Because it was before An Ocean Is Between Us, right? So like one of the earlier ones. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Shade, but yeah, they have Shadows Are Security, Frail Words Collapse. I don't remember which one it was either. Was that what it was? Okay. Yeah. Great record. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was so into it. I'm not a drummer, but I've listened to it so many times that I could match the patterns with my hand on my legs, and I never drummed, and I'm not that good as a drummer, but these patterns were just like stuck in my head and always there, and it was like, it was so intense, and it's like I've already drummed it. I've never drummed before, and they were just sticking in my head and drumming on my legs. So that was
absolutely.
That is my best memory in getting into heavy music, and it still keeps ringing in my head.
Yeah. So first record from As I Lay, Frail Words Collapse, iconic record. I think a lot of people that got into, metalcore or metal at that time would reference that, probably like Killswitch Engage and like just a handful of other bands. I was similar, like An Ocean Between Us was the first one I heard from them. I got into them a little late, but I got into metal a little late, and I got that record and As Daylight Dies from Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
And it just, both of those records blew me away with like the heaviness, and yet like they had choruses as catchy as some pop music. You know what I mean? Just like stuck in your head. The patterns, like you said, with the drums, just like everything about it can really just pull you into heavy music. So that makes a lot of sense. Going from that, so how old were you when you kind of got into that kind of music?
I think it's about 12, 13, 14, something around like
right.
that.
You said that. I apologize. Yeah. So you get into it around that time. What kind of got you to first? Was there a different band or different music or somebody that kind of got you into playing? Were you like in band in school or whatever else? Like, what got you first writing your own music or being in a band? When did that start for you?
Yeah, I think that started almost 2 years before discovering As I Lay Dying. I was kind of a scene kid in school. I was in a punk scene. Some guys in my school were in a punk band, and that was, I was always at rehearsals and always at shows, and there were some local parties where everybody was, and it's all punk related. And that was one day they said they need a bassist, and I've never played an instrument before, so I decided, yeah, all right, I do it. And that was it. And that was kind of where it started for me to get into music, into making music myself, and be part of a musician group and a band. And punk is not that hard on a bass, and it worked out for a couple of months, and then the band split up, and I was just, okay, now I started it, now I keep going. And that's how I've reached the point where I am. And I've always liked the sound of the bass. I was listening to the bass on the songs before, and I was like, I like that raw clingy bass where you hear it more than you feel it. It's hard to describe, but I like my bass sound very, very rough and strong and very cracky.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's cool. Yeah, getting into it with punk music, As I Lay Dying gets you into metal. Start kind of playing bands around that time. Did you? Because you're the singer, a lot of people will say like clean singing or just singer in the band now with the Narrator. When did you start singing? Was that something you did when you were young as well? Is that something that you had to kind of just pick up because a band needed a singer? Where did that come from?
I've had several bands before. I mean, several is too much. I think I had 3 bands before the Narrator, and I was being the frontman. I was just shouting and singing both at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but in
in the same song, right? I gotcha.
Yeah. And it developed. It was just I've never been so bad at singing like the one or the other, and it's just developed over the years, and I've getting better and better. And I've just, when I'm happy, I'm singing at home. I sing to my dog and sing to my girlfriend, wherever. And it's I like it. I like it so much. I can't describe. If I had to, I would leave the bass behind and sing only. But
so kind of yourself as more of a vocalist than a bass player when it comes to what you're more passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I had to choose, I would choose the vocals. But as long as I can, I do the both.
Yeah.
So I like it. It's just like I'm singing quite high, so it's the opposite of the bass, and that's just something that I don't know how to describe. It's so different from each other, from the notes, the highness, and I like the mix, and it feels good. So I just keep doing
it. Absolutely. I'm just curious because I saw it a couple of times in some of the music videos and some live videos I watched of you guys. What kind of basses do you typically play? Like, what's your go-to bass that you use live or with the recordings?
I'm playing Ibanez. Right. Okay. It's I have 2 Ibanez active pickups, and I like the sound. I like the rawness, and
Mm.
it's the active setup that pushes it a little bit further in the sound. But I'm quite open to experimenting and playing another bass. I've discovered the FGN guitars. It's
Uh-huh.
the Japanese guitar manufacturer,
Yeah.
and I really fell in love with one of these. So I might get one of
Hell
these.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Hey, it's a slippery slope with any musician, right? We just end up just having an entire wall
Yeah.
of basses or guitars or whatever else, right? So I totally get it. Very cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Ibanez basses as well, especially for heavier music. So that's a good go too. So you talked about getting into heavy music, singing in a couple of bands before the Narrator. Um, Narrator starts, first of all, kind of walk me through how the band formed, and kind of what got you guys together as a band.
Yeah, that's we've come, or we are living in a town that's called Essen. It's in Western Germany. It's a quite big town. I think it's almost 1 million people living there,
Oh,
and there was a very active scene. There's, I think, 10 years ago, I think, roundabout, and everybody of us played in a different band. We started with other bands, and we played some shows together and got to know each other because we playing more often or more regularly with each other, and so we got to know each other. We started liking each other, becoming friends, and when the other bands broke up or just moved on or something else, we found each other. We had the time in 2017 where we everybody wasn't in a band at that moment, and that was the moment where we just met up and like, oh, come on, let's jam together, let's have some fun, let's do some music. Started with just covering something and getting into a rehearsal room and play music together, and it formed quite fast. We were just having 2 or 3 rehearsal days where we just enjoyed each other, and then we just come together with the idea: let's do something. Let's do something that matters. And then that's it. That's how we just started. We have been 4 guys at first, but before we released our first single, we had another guitarist joining us, and that was the start of the band.
and it's been the same 5 of you since then, right? There hasn't been any member changes since that time, correct?
It has been since end of last year. Then
Oh, okay.
we had to part ways with our guitarist, with Jan. He hadn't, or he was too busy with work. He focused on work because he's getting a bigger role in his company, and that was just, he wasn't able to tour with us, and
Right.
that was that was a hard moment for us because we have been 5 guys, and we were bestest friends, and yeah, that moment we had to
Mm-hmm.
to call it quit with one of our best friends, and that was very sad. But we keep going. It works out as 4 of us. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't have to, we don't want another one to make music with us, because it's all about trust. It's all about emotions and feelings, and being vulnerable with all the other guys around. And we always wanted somebody who is just a big part of our lives, and not just a musician who is joining us. So if we find somebody who fits in there perfectly, we would do it, but we don't have to. So
Right. And that's such a good point. On the inside of a band, it's so much more than just, making music. Cause like you said, if you're going on tours, you're spending more time with these people than you would be your own family for days, weeks on end. And, you're in rehearsal spaces, you're writing music together. Like, it's a very creative kind of, like you said, vulnerable relationship. And I've heard other bandmates and other bands literally talk about being with band members as it's like a type of marriage, right? And like in that regard of how much time you spend together, how much, you know, you really have to bounce things off of each other. So it's almost more important to get along than somebody being like the biggest virtuoso when it comes to music, right? Because you can always write music well together if you work well together, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's the biggest part. It's we're spending so much time in a tour bus or in a hotel room or wherever we're staying, and if you don't trust each other or if you feel uncomfortable with somebody, it's not right. It's
Right.
it's it's not that it's our full-time job. We have everybody has a main job. It's not that we are earning money from that, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing in your free time, then that's not it.
Right. Then it just becomes another job, and that's the last thing anybody wants, right? So yeah, you talked about the band getting together now. You've had the same members minus one, but you haven't added anybody new since the kind of conception of the band. I know that your first single you put out in 2017, I just had it pulled up here, sorry, was Fair, right? That you guys put out first before you put out the EP Forget All I Regret. So there, I guess this kind of goes into this for the start of this. What's this kind of songwriting process for your band? Everybody I talk to has a different, you know, people write collectively. There's one person that typically writes the song, and then other people kind of put their take on it. But what's the writing process for you guys when you're making your music?
It depends. From time to time, it depends a little bit, but most of it is Tom's ideas on the guitars. He writes riffs or choruses or whatever comes to his mind, and he's preparing everything. He's preparing the guitar. He's preparing the bass. He's preparing the drums, and we just get a riff or get an idea of a chorus or whatever, and we can listen to it, think about it, and if the idea is right, we work it out together. Most of the time we just the instrumentalists, Tom is the main instrumentalist, and he is writing most of the riffs, and we just come to it when it's there, and we work on it, and we make some adjustments or whatever. But most of the time, we just do vocal addition. So we work on a almost finished product that Tom blasts out of his head. So.
Right. That's honestly how I feel like a lot of bands work, especially now that somebody can demo in their home so easily. Yeah. That, I mean, it's just if somebody's efficient at songwriting, you let them do their part, and it becomes a well-oiled machine, right? So that makes a lot of sense. When you're doing the vocals, since there's both you and the lead vocalist in the band, do you guys write those together? Does he write most of it and then, you know, kind of give the melody aspect to you, or how does that typically work out for you guys?
Well, that's sometimes it's a process that we have while recording a pre-pro, but it's very often that Fabi has a lyric and uses it, and he's doing some changes to it, or doing he's doing his thing, and we work it out together when we're doing the pre-pro sessions. That is most of the time what we are doing in the rehearsal room, meeting up and discussing what we already have, and try to make something better. Or sometimes we don't have to do something. We just hit the record button and come out with a finished project. It's sometimes it just fits perfectly together, and sometimes we have to work on it. Sometimes we have to wait another few weeks to make something better because we are not happy in the first place. So
right,
that happens from time to time, but it's so efficiently what we are doing right now. If we come together, there's a lot of progress already happened in the background, and we come together and finish it up. So
Yeah, well, whatever you guys are doing is definitely working because the songs rip. They're awesome.
thank you.
But yeah. I would say, I've probably been listening to at least the last two releases you guys have had more than any other band I've found this past year, just because like it's got it all. It's got the riffs, it's got the catchy choruses that you belt out in the songs, and then you've got your what was your lead vocalist name again?
Fabi.
Yeah, Fabi. So, and his screams in it are just so brutal. Like it's pretty incredible. But so yeah, you put out the first EP, kind of talking about. We just talked a little bit about the songwriting process you guys do to kind of put out some of these releases. With for Forget All I Regret, had a few more singles after that before your second EP, Dark Rails, in 2019. You put that out in 2019, and then you said started doing a tour in 2020, and that's when lockdown happened, right? Which I'm sure was a big buzzkill for everybody involved with you guys,
Yeah.
with putting out some of these releases and not being able to tour on them for quite a while. During that time, was that just a time that you guys maybe remotely, maybe together when you could, just continue to write a lot of music? Did you just kind of have to take a break with the chaos of everything going on, or what were those years like for you guys when you couldn't do live shows?
Yeah, that was kind of both. We were just in shock. The first half of 2020, we were
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there and a little bit shocked that the tour was cancelled, and nobody in. I think Germany was a little bit stricter and very hard with the lockdown, and it was we had to deal with ourselves in that time, and nobody knew how it would go on. If you can go on within the next year, or if it's stretching it for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever, what is coming, and everybody was dealing with its own problems. Of course, we talked to each other and we had some meetings and talked about stuff, but we had to deal with a lot of stuff in that time, and when the first shock was over, we just sat down and wrote some music. Lucid and Frontier were written in that time, and we found a way to record both songs. I think it was the end or beginning of 21, and we had a lot of time to before we can release them, because in our size it's not that easy to release something without shows going on. So if
Right.
you release a new song and you don't play any shows or whatever, it smokes up it goes up in smoke. If you
Right.
don't play any shows with the size of our band, I mean, you can just burn the money and do whatever you want
Right.
to. So we had to
Mm-hmm.
wait. We had to wait a long time before releasing Lucid and Frontier. And yeah, it turns out it was a good time to release these songs, because it went very well for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely has. So I guess good things come for those who wait, and it just helps that the songs are great. But so you said you put these out in early, or I mean, you recorded these, and you said early 2021, right? So you kind of waited 2 years to essentially release these two songs. At least Frontier. I know Lucid was a little before that. Um, can people expect more songs to come soon, since you've had a long time span since these songs were recorded? Are there other songs coming out? Is there a release you could talk about? Is there anything that people can kind of expect in the future from the Narrator?
Well, we are working very hard. We are writing, we are recording, and we are not completely sure where it's going right now, because it's always a. I think it sounds weird, but it sounds familiar for most of the people. It it depends all on money, because
Mm-hmm.
we have with our recent releases, we have a very good quality in the recordings, and we do it with Embark Audio. It's a good friend of ours, and he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. And so this is, we want to keep up the quality. We don't want to go any lower because of the money or anything. So it's a process that it's time consuming, because
Right.
we have to wait some time to record, and we have to wait another time to record something else, and we are working on something, but it's not that we are sure to tell what it's going to be, if
Right.
it's going
Of
to
course.
be singles or EP or maybe an album if we get lucky. But it's it's a process where we're in right now, and we have a lot of output, and let's see where it heads us to.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. That was the other thing I was going to talk to you about, because I would see where this would also add a lot more time, but I'm sure it's working out with you, especially with socials and YouTube and different things like that. You've had two I would say um, pretty intricate as far as like the quality and everything else when it comes to the music videos you guys did, both for Lucid and Frontier. I thought the Lucid one was cool, just of you and your vocalist kind of just in the car singing. It almost looked like, like a pop or hip hop video in those instances was cool. And the video is just like the aesthetic of them. It looks very, very well done, very high quality. Is that something, one, you felt has been worth the time, and two, do you think that you can kind of accredit um, growth to kind of taking the time and doing those things on social media and YouTube and things of that nature?
yeah, it's absolutely, because social media is such an important part of anything. If you don't have a good social media side, if you don't use it smart, you're not going anywhere, because
Right.
there are so many bands out there, and so many great bands out there. It's if you don't use social media as good as you can, you just fall over. You just fall behind, and you just can't keep up with anything. If you have to use it. You have to use it wisely. You have to invest something. Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise it's just it's too much that everybody sees on their Instagram, in their bubble, and you have to stick out a little bit. And yeah, it's absolutely worth it. If music videos, they have been more important in the last, I think, 10 years maybe, where music television was very big, and anything that was music videos were so important. It has been a little bit less lately, I think. Music videos, it's temporarily for the release. It's an important thing, but after the release, it's going a little bit downwards. But yeah, we like music videos, and we like to film music videos, and we have the biggest advantage we have is that our drummer is doing the videos. So we keep it simple, we keep it on a budget, and the outcome is absolutely high quality.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you would not think that those are in-house, like, done music videos. They look, and I say they look professional, but they are professional. Just because your drummer does them doesn't mean they're not professional. They're very professionally made. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you've seen social media work well for you guys. I think especially with Frontier, I feel like I saw that just kind of all over the place. Like I said, I don't think I see too many German, hardcore metalcore bands show up on my feed randomly, and luckily you guys were, so it worked out really well. Um, do you enjoy that aspect of trying to grow the band, or do you kind of feel it's a necessary evil?
um I think both of it. It's we enjoy the release, the short time after the release. The I think it's 3 to 5, 6 weeks or whatever, where you are constantly on your phone and just watching the Spotify for Artists app, and you you see in real time how many people are listening right now, and you see the number and you're like, oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
2 hours later you go on it again and think, wow, it's more. And
Yep.
it's getting kind of addictive, because you're always watching the numbers, and if the numbers fall for a percentage or whatever, you just look at it, oh fuck, what did we do wrong or something. And
Right.
it's getting addictive if you see the numbers, and if you have a day where you have, I think, 10k streams or max on a day on Frontier, and you see the number and you're like, oh wow, now we're going places.
Right.
That's absolutely addictive. But it's hard to have this output where you can post something every day, because it's hard to plan that. It's very hard to have a constant output every day, and you have to keep the numbers up. It's very hard for a band of 4 or 5 people, because somebody has to have an eye on it. Somebody has to deal with it. But we are a self-managed band, and we have to overlook so many things. And social media is, I think, the most important part of it. But you can't have it. You can have it on your mind every day and every time. If you are an artist that is solo without any band, or it's a pop artist or whatever, you can just do a selfie video in your bathroom and post it in your story, and everybody loves it. So that's the easier part. But yeah, it's kind of hard to keep it up. And we want to be as the most of we want to have more social media output, but it's so hard to manage. So
Yeah, I mean, it's tough too when, like you said, everyone in your band has a job, right? Then you also have the actual band aspect of being in a band, writing music, practicing, doing shows, trying to reach out to other bands or people that book for touring, all those kinds of things, especially when you're self-managed. Then on top of that, you have to sort of be like a social media content creator all at the same time. You know what I mean? So I could totally see where it could just be kind of, I don't know, even if somebody enjoys it, it can just kind of become a burnout, like it could really, like you said, if somebody has to think about it every day, it can just kind of be a lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so much you have to think about it, and it's so much that you have to keep in mind. And I mean, it's not just Instagram. It's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's TikTok, and it's everything that you have to keep in mind. And not everything works as good as it works on Instagram when you have a TikTok account or a Facebook account, whatever. You have to think for the different platforms, and you have to come up with something new. And so you do it 3 times to have a good recognition percentage or whatever. So
Right.
that's very hard. I think some bands do have a social media manager who's doing that for them, even in our size. But yeah, we try to keep it simple. It's just we just want to play live, and we just want to go out there, getting on stage, and getting rid of all the stress and everything bad that we have. So we just want to burn the house down. And yeah, if we had to keep an eye on all these social media channels, we that could be too much. We're trying our best.
Right. And you still got to make sure to make it, like I said earlier, you still got to make sure to make it enjoyable and fun for yourself, and not just turn it into another grind that burns you out and you don't get, you don't feel, creatively fulfilled from, or something,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Going from that, obviously, talked a little bit about what we could maybe expect or not expect this upcoming year. One thing I did want to get into, because I talk about different things like some world issues and social aspects of things as well. I noticed just from both from the sort of live album you have on Spotify, I know there's a live stream you did. And it also says in your description, I'll just read real quick for people, and we can kind of talk about this for a second. It says the narrator tried to contribute to equal opportunities for all people. This is one of the reasons why they organized a solo show for Sea-Watch in 2020. And with the support of the audience, the band collected over 1,400 euros to help Sea-Watch save lives in the Mediterranean. So I looked up. See, I had heard a bit about this, but Sea-Watch essentially is something that works in the Mediterranean to help out people stranded that are looking for asylum, basically, and being able to immigrate to, in your instance, Germany or some of the other surrounding countries, right? So, what was the thought behind that? I think it's really cool that you guys did that, but what was the thought behind doing that at that time? Why was that the organization that you guys went with, and why was that important for you guys?
Sea-Watch is an organization we do a lot for. We have on our shows, we have a banner from them with us that is set up at the merch table. We have a collective box for Sea-Watch with us, and it's one of the one of the biggest catastrophes in the human race, or whatever you want to call it, because it's the result of an ongoing war for, I think it's about 60 years, where people are suppressed by their governments, or even killed or raped or whatever, and they are so frustrated, and so that they just sit in a very small boat and try to cross a huge ass sea. And it's very important for us to have these people rescued, because they have no choice. They have no other opportunity, no other way to get out of their situation without risking their lives. They end up being dead in their country, or they end up being dead in the Mediterranean Sea. And all we can do as a people is help the guys who wants to save them, because the politicians won't do it, because they don't want to help them, because they are afraid of whatever they are going to do in their countries. So it's an irrational fear that they're not trying to overcome. They just want to let the people die, and we want to be a part of it. We want to help, and we want to raise awareness with what we have. We can reach a lot of people with our music. We can reach a lot of people with our social media accounts, and we want to use that to help people who can't help themselves. So that was the time where everybody had to deal with their own problems, where the pandemic hits and everybody was locked down, and everybody was sitting at home and discussing, what can we do? We want to do something. We want to play music, but we want to do something that's helping anybody. So we decided to go for this one. We had some guests on it who from other bands who helped us out, and did feature parts and guest parts, and helped us out with it. And that was the idea behind that, because we couldn't play any shows. We just could lock ourselves up in that venue and make this stream and raise money to help other people. And we even had some guys from the Sea-Watch crew on that stream. So they were very happy about that, and there was a huge acknowledgement for the money we raised for that. And I think that helped a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that's a great thing to do at a time where, like you said, it's lockdown time. There's a lot of bad things going on in the world in general, and yet it's still good to remember that regardless of that, or in addition to that, there's this whole other crisis that is kind of chronic. And so it's good to both be able to sort of do a live stream just for yourselves, in a way of being able to sort of do a show when you can't do a show, but also make sure people can still realize that there's this, crisis, like you said, it's a humanitarian crisis going on, and that you could still provide help during a pandemic to these people that still need asylum, still need a place to go, still need a place to feel safe. And like you said, if the politicians aren't going to do it, at least there's an organization like this one that you guys can help out with. It's cool to hear that you even bring a banner with you guys to the shows and things like that. That's great. I think that's something that, regardless of people's supposed political ideologies that are everyday people, we can all agree you should help people in those situations, right? That should be a no-brainer, but unfortunately it's not,
Yeah, it's just it was a time where everybody was just thinking of himself, because the times were frightening. Nobody knew how to deal with the situation, what is going to happen. Will everybody die, or will we find a cure to this situation? And that was just important for us to raise awareness for something that's going on for years and still going on. It's not making a pause in this pandemic. So the media was not covering any of it. It was all
right.
about that pandemic. Every day and every night, you only hear about that pandemic, and everybody forgets about people who have lost their lives in the Mediterranean Sea. And that was a big point for us to raise awareness again, and keep the people on track and not in the fear that was created by media.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a great thing to do during, I think, a really, really tough time for everybody to kind of keep in mind of that, and also to raise some money for these people that I'm sure need all the resources they can get to continue to help these people out that are just, that can be stranded or in danger in the middle of, like you said, a massive sea. So again, anybody that hasn't checked this out, it'll be in the notes as well. Make sure to look at c-watch.org for what Rob's talking about here. You can also check out the live stream. The recording of the live stream is also on the Narrator's YouTube channel. You can check that out. Make sure to check out the two new singles along with the rest of the catalog of the band with Frontier, Lucid. Go back and listen to their other EPs. It's all great music. Again, I couldn't talk high enough about it. I really, really enjoy it. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you two things. One, because I have a lot of listeners both from the States and also the UK and a few other European countries. But since I like I said earlier, I personally haven't heard of a lot of, other than some massive band like Rammstein or something like that, and a lot of heavy, hardcore, metalcore German bands. Are there a few that you've played shows with in your in your country that you'd want to give a shout out to, that you think people should listen to? Are there other ones kind of in your scene that you think people that like your band would also like, that they should check out?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the biggest shout out is going to Elwood Stray. It's Elwood Stray is a band that are best friends of us. We know each other for 20 years plus, because these are very good friends from us, and they are similar style and great band. So you have to check them out, definitely. Elwood Stray is a good befriended band of us. And Half Me, we've been on tour with the last time, is very great guys, absolutely lovable guys, so much fun. And that's the closest circle of bands around us at the moment. So these guys definitely worth to check out.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about Elwood Stray since you brought them up. On your Spotify, there's a song "No Cure" that is actually on your channel, but it's labeled as the artist Elwood Stray. What's the story behind that?
It's a feature. It's kind of simple. It's a feature with our singer, with Fabi, who is doing a big part on that song. And we've been in the metadates with our band name. It's our top song, because Elwood Stray is making so much progress right now. That just that is they have made such a big leap the last year, and they're going on tour through whole Europe in the next few months. I think it's about in 2 months, I guess. And they made such a big progress now. Have such an improvement going on, and feel very happy for them. Absolutely deserved, because it's a great ass band.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure to check that band out myself. Everyone should check out Elwood Train. You said the other band, Half Me, that I know you were just on tour with. Definitely check those bands out as well. And then the last question I have for you, I've been asking people this to kind of end the podcast time here. And also I'll let you say if there's anything else you wanted to plug or anything at the end too. But been kind of doing a hypothetical question with people, and you might find this enjoyable, you might find this terrible, but say you're not in the Narrator. You could be the lead singer, you could be the bass player, you could be whatever, but say you're not in the Narrator and you could pick any other musicians that you love, any bands, people could be alive, dead, whatever, from your favorite bands, from whatever, what would be your all-star lineup for a band you could be in?
Wow, that is
I know it's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a very tough one. That's so hypothetical that I haven't thought about it yet. So
yeah,
it's so hard. It's not that I only listen to heavy music. It's just
right.
So I've listening to a lot of American rap, like Kendrick Lamar or something like that. So I don't know if I could dance. I would be a dancer with Kendrick Lamar, but I can't dance, so that is that is not in the making.
Hey, you could be he has a live band. You could be the bass player and be one of the singers that plays with him in his live band. There you go, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. But I think it's if I was a live bassist for a hip hop artist or soul or funk or whatever, I think I would go with the Roots. Because the Roots
such
is
a good pick.
Such a killer band. They are so freaking tight, and everybody's knowing exactly what they're doing. That would be, I think something like that, or the Wailers. Maybe the Wailers, Bob Marley and the Wailers would be good pick. But there's so many good bands and so many great choices to make, and I can't really tell. I can't fix one. It's just.
No, I get you. I know you're not the only person that's kind of given me an answer of like, I just joined this band because I cannot do this. That's okay. But again, thanks a lot, Rob. I really appreciate this. Again, for anybody that has not listened to them, check out the Narrator on all social media. It's at the Narrator HC. You can check them out on Spotify, Apple Music. Make sure to check out the music videos on YouTube. Rob, is there anything else that you want to plug for the people? You could plug your handles if you want people to follow you on your personal accounts, or anything else you want to tell the people.
I want to thank you for inviting me. Absolutely. That was a great time. And I want to thank everybody for the ongoing support. The last few weeks and months have been amazing. It's so great to get out there, to play shows, to see all these amazing faces, to have a chat on the merch table or in front of the venue, smoking a cigarette or something. It's just such a great opportunity, such a great memories we are making every time. And thank you to everybody who's listening to our music, who is enjoying our shows, who's coming to shows, who is buying some merch to make all this happen for us. And thank you very much, everybody. That's
absolutely. And again, I hope to see. I have a feeling within the next year and a half, we're gonna look at your numbers here. They're gonna be, this 230,000 to 270,000 isn't gonna mean anything, because it'll be way higher than that. I really do believe you guys are gonna be one of the next big, heavy bands in the scene in general. So I'll say that out here now, and hopefully I know my prediction will be right. You guys can thank me later for that prediction. But last thing before I let you go, I always play a song at the end of this. We could obviously play Frontier or Lucid, or if there's a different song you like from your catalog you think people should check out that's from earlier. But what song would you want to play at the end of this?
Yeah, I think Frontier is a very good choice. It's
okay.
It's the most recent song, and it's I think by far, so far, the best song we ever made.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened through your whole catalog. It's all great, but this one's still my favorite, which was, the first song I heard, listened through it all. It's all awesome. But this one, it's got the punch and it's got the hook. So it's great. All right. So we'll play Frontier from the Narrator on the Powerless podcast at the end of this. Thanks again, Rob, for coming on. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tonight, weather's crashed and left us half alive. You only have a life 'cause we can't die. But we're lying awake, 'cause every night's the same. Stuck in a prison and it feels like a drug. We're not getting up on mistakes of faith. The walls inside this place slipping away, but it seems like we're done. You're done with feeling numb. Misbreathing, disbelieving, betraying ourselves as the same thing. Everyone's turning their back on us. No one else of us responsible. Pursuing the game of the came across, fighting against the odds. Alright, we can turn back the time tonight. Waves crashed and left us half alive. You only have a life 'cause we can't die. But we're lying awake, 'cause every night's the same. Stuck in a prison and it feels like a drug. We're not getting up on mistakes of faith. The walls inside this place slipping away, but it seems like we're done. You're done with feeling numb. What we are cannot be erased, but the stars won't guide us around the cave. Around the cave. What we are cannot be erased, but the stars won't guide us around the cave. 'Cause every night's the same. Stuck in a prison and it feels like a drug. We're not getting on. But we're lying.